Welcome to Revolution Against Evolution. I'm your host, Doug Sharp.
Rich Gear here as well, and Doug's going to take point on this show. He has done a lot of work on seeds, seeds that are called weeds. Maybe I'm going to call it.
That's right, yeah.
But a lot of these seeds are actually not they're things that technically we don't want. But the outline I'm showing, there are lots of uses in some of these. Some of them are not as well documented, so are not necessarily provable, but some of them seem to have pretty good value to them. And I was very fascinated with the wild oat one, because I go, well, why do we not want to have wild oats? They do all these good things. And then, but I guess you can't eat them as well. I don't really know.
Well, the title of this show is called Incredible Edible Weeds.
Oh, Incredible Edible Weeds. Okay. Well, not all of these you're eating like for food. You're using them for medicine. A lot of them. But,
that's right. Yeah, it's interesting that I remember demonstrating some of these seeds that I have here. I have the Filaree seed, which is in a logarithmic spiral, and there's a whole bunch of them here, but this one...
Is that a Fibonacci spiral, Doug?
Fibonacci spiral, and I now call it the creation function spiral in honor of my friend Derek Marshall, who's written all kinds of things about the logarithmic spiral. So that has got some... is that the different? I think it's different than the golden spiral, but in any event, there is some real design work that God put into this particular plant, and there's a on the end is a seed, and then there is a what is called an awn, A-W-N.
Okay.
And the awn is curled up like a screw, and it...
so it goes on and on.
Something like that.
Okay,
yeah.
I just had to throw that in there.
And I was demonstrating these one day at a conference, and there was a farmer that came by, and he says, and I was demonstrating this in the wild oat seed, which also has some locomotion associated with it. These screw themselves in the ground by...
we've demonstrated that on some shows we've done in the past.
Right. And the wild oat seed has two of them that sort of rotate, and it screws across the ground. And I was demonstrating this at a conference, and the farmer came up to me and said, these things are weeds. And I said to him, it sort of took me aback for a minute, and I said, well, if they're weeds, and I got another thing came to my mind at that time was a burdock, and I said, well, these things really have some incredible design features in them, and I was trying to look at these, and then why would God make something that with such an incredible design as a weed? And of course, there's the scripture talks about when Adam sinned, there'd be thorns and thistles and
things that were good at one time took on the bad things began to happen. Whether it was the genome was changed at that time or adaptation, whatever, things that probably had some good probably even mosquitoes, as far as not talking about plants here, but might have been the male still sucks the sap, doesn't it, out of the plant? It doesn't suck blood. But the weeds would have probably had other things that would have been benefit before the fall. But Doug, even after the fall, this is what I've always said, that even after the fall, we as believers, and really human beings all over, the Bible says the heavens declare His glory, the earth is His footstool. I mean, you could see the Creator from His creation, even the broken creation. You can still see it. And when I was looking about all the benefits of some of these weeds, I'm kind of, well, maybe they're really not weeds. I mean, they are weeds because we've defined them as such. Maybe we can't eat them in the same way as, let's say, the wild oat. You can't eat it the same way as a as the regular or the domesticated oat. I don't know what they call the regular oat that we eat, but because the oat is really good for you. It's good for your heart and stuff like that.
That's right, yeah.
But the wild oats seem to have some good medicinal properties and nutritional properties as well. You want to go into some of those? Or?
Yeah, I'll talk to you first about the Filaree seed, because that's first in my nose.
Oh, okay. Well, I jumped the gun. That's kind of what I do here,
Yeah,
So-
you get me all goofed
And
up.
then he's messed up for the rest of half an hour, and then we're going to have fun anyway. No, so go ahead, go with the Filaree seed first, then talk about the wild oat, okay?
Well, it turns out the Filaree plant in its entirety is all edible. And, and it's something that, it's something that we don't necessarily eat, but it's the Native Americans out west. This is a desert plant.
Oh, I see,
And
okay.
so our friend David Overproller says, I can find you all sorts of Filaree seeds that you want, because I got them in my yard, I have to pull them up. So he's out in Mesa, Arizona. But the Native Americans, they actually, the leaves are picked early in the spring before the flowers appear, and they're cooked as greens.
Okay.
And then the Hopi will make candy out of the roots, and it's chewed by the children.
Candy?
Yeah, candy.
How does that
Sometimes as a
work?
gum.
Okay.
And then the high moisture content, the leaves and the stems, make it good grazing plants for livestock.
Okay.
So a plant and the roots are eaten by women to produce more milk for the nursing children. And the Navajo, they use it for as a disinfectant. For wildcat, and bobcat, and mountain lion bites.
Does it actually work?
I think that's what it does. Yeah. And,
Okay.
And there's a poultice of the chewed root that's applied to sores and rashes. And so it's it's an infusion of the root taken, in other words, a tea made out of the root is taken for stomachache. There was another tribe that uses it for the cold leaf tea to treat typhoid fever. And so there's a lot of these different uses that the Filaree seed has, and so I'm just going to start documenting these, and I'm finding more and more of these that I'm finding them in the Whole Food store.
Okay.
And they say, well, these are good for you, they're good as a supplement, eat them, they're really great. But here, our farmers don't like them because they interfere with it, they sort of compete with the crops.
The stuff they want to grow, yeah.
And so I think that's what you really define as a weed, is something that actually comes up on its own in a monoculture type of crop.
Well, yeah, there's certain crops we like, and this doesn't fit into it. But how come? Why don't we develop these kinds of things? There's a lot of things. I mean, plant-based stuff that's been known for centuries that's good for you. I mean, obviously the cultivated oat people like, but use even dandelions.
Dandelion greens.
Dandelion greens. I mean, that's a weed. And everything, you can use everything with a dandelion, just like you can with a Filaree seed. Everything on that thing is useful.
But what I found something interesting in a talk I went to on Monday. Dr. Holmes at Gilead was talking about how what's really going on in the food industry and the drug industry is that what they want to do. A lot of our drugs are taken from plants. But what they do is try to isolate the ingredient, the one ingredient that is actually effective, but they don't realize that the entire plant has to be used in conjunction with the other enzymes.
See, I thought this for a long time, Doug.
And you can't patent it if it's something you just pull out of nature. Out of nature.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
And so, if you want to charge a lot of money for it, you've got to actually do the chemistry to extract the stuff out and make it a drug.
Yep.
And so that's really what's going on. And I find the wild oat seeds actually in the health food store, and they call it milky seed. And it's like I have here, that's got a couple of hydroscopic awns on it. And what they are is when you heat it up or you actually it will react with water as well, they'll sort of rotate and scoot across the ground.
Okay.
And so by that, it helps it to
Plant itself.
plant itself, yeah.
Now, that's when water hits it, right? Is that,
right.
Okay.
Health practitioners have used an extract of the green oat seed, and here's the extract, okay, to support nervous conditions, healthy sleep patterns, healthy heart function, the maintenance of healthy nerves when in recovery from addiction, and the male sexual function. So if you want to get along with your wife, eat a lot of these things. And the seed is rich in protein and minerals, potassium and magnesium, and also contains the B complex vitamins. The relaxing properties of minerals on tissues may contribute to wild oats' possible benefit in supporting the nervous system.
So it's interesting, you said it's got potassium or magnesium, and it's also got B complex. I know a lot of vitamins, because I take vitamins and stuff, that some of them don't work well unless you have something else that goes along with it to help, it process in your body. They're learning this kind of stuff. They've learned it for quite a number of years, but they're still, I just have always felt there's probably lots of missing things that we don't know about that are actually in the seed or the food or whatever it is in the whole food, where you don't get it when you get just we already know, like, let's say you bleach bread, it's not as good as whole grain bread. You know what I'm saying? I'm just talking that for an easy one, but I would imagine that similar things apply to these weeds or these other seeds and things of that nature. You try to process the secret ingredient, and what you end up getting, you get the secret ingredient, but it doesn't work, or it works half as well, or a tenth as well, because it doesn't have the provitamin or the probiotic or whatever the thing it needs to, or the mineral or something.
Enzymes,
whatever. I mean, all these things are finding. And it's interesting, Doug, because it's like they take them all out, and then you sell them separately, so you take them all and put them back in your body when they're already in the plant to start with. So that's things like that are interesting.
There was a whole thing. I got this from an organic farming website where they were actually trying to control the wild oats when they were coming up with the regular oats.
Oh yeah, okay.
And so there was a lot of different things that they had to do to, mostly pulling them when they come up.
So wild oats cannot be eaten the same way that domesticated oats eat. I just don't know what the difference is.
Well, it might be the taste. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but, maybe they taste terrible.
But they're supposed to be good for you. So, that's the second one that I had here. And the third plant that I looked up was, there's stinging nettles. And those things
can't
are
be good.
nasty.
But they are, right?
But they are. It's a plant that people use the root and above ground parts as medicine. And they're used for many conditions, but so far there isn't enough scientific evidence, according to this site.
Yeah, but you know why?
It's effective.
Because they won't test it.
That's right. Yeah.
To do that, because what are they going to gain? The money that needs to test these things is a lot. Do double-blind tests and all that stuff. And if you can't sell it, why would you do it? I mean, maybe a university or just for research would do it, but
do you know what the difference between a supplement and a drug is, Rich?
A supplement doesn't have side effects.
A supplement is
I just throw that at you. I don't know.
Right, a supplement is a food. Okay. And it's generally recognized as safe unless you find out that it's really not.
Well, I was close.
Yeah. But a drug is generally recognized as unsafe until you prove that it isn't.
Oh, great.
And so, that's why the drugs are, with the double-blind tests, but the supplements are really food that are given in different quantities. And but the stinging nettle is for urination problems and for a enlarged prostate, so maybe I need to take it.
Try it out, see, you do your own laboratory, see if that works.
Yeah, and it's used for frequent urination, painful urination, an irritable bladder, and it's used also for joint ailments, such as a diuretic, as an astringent. Used in irrigation therapy for urinary tract infections.
So what do you grind it up and drink it in water or something? Or
Yeah.
what? Okay.
Kidney stones, allergies, and osteoarthritis.
Kidney stones, James could use that.
Yeah.
It's my brother.
And also internal bleeding, nosebleeds, and bowel bleeding. These are all things that the stinging nettles are good for. And so, but they're so common and so pernicious, and they're...
Well, they grow where you don't want them to grow.
That's right, and they're a little bit difficult to harvest. If you're pulling them up by hand, you're getting all these different things, and it's irritable. And so there's all these different things that I was talking about here. Anemia, poor circulation, enlarged spleen, diabetes, endocrine disorders, stomach acid, diarrhea, dysentery, asthma, lung congestion, rash, and eczema, cancer, blood purification, wound healing as a gentle tonic. Okay. The above ground parts are applied to the skin for muscle aches and pains, oily scalp, oily hair, hair loss.
Hair loss?
So our friend John could probably use it because it's alopecia is
Alopecia?
That's exactly what
He's got alopecia.
that's what the alopecia is.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I was trying to pronounce. But yeah, you know what it means? You know what alopecia means?
What?
Unexplained hair loss. Scientists have a genius of putting a name on something, make you think they know what they're talking about.
Right.
But really, they don't know. It's just, okay, unexplained hair loss. Well, that doesn't really help you much at all. It's some kind of an autoimmune thing, I think. But that can help for alopecia.
Yeah, that's what it says. Yeah.
What? Stinging nettle.
Stinging nettle. Yeah.
So how do you get this stuff? Can you get it at a health food store?
Whole Foods or health food store.
Yeah. So, John, I had to say, here, I'm going to give you some of this and see if it works,
Now, there's another weed that the Roundup, the glyphosate, this is the patented weed killer that Monsanto uses.
Oh, yeah.
And which is now being linked to cancer.
Well, okay.
And so they're saying this glyphosate, the GMO type of things that are used, genetically modified, so it resists glyphosate. That's why a lot of people don't like to use GMOs, is because they're associated with these weed killers.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And now apparently the glyphosate isn't working because it's developing all these weeds that are resistant to it.
Really? Well, that's what happens.
And so what they're using is actually Agent Orange.
Really?
To
didn't we have that in Vietnam,
And so, that's what's happening in our farming world, where, if you don't have an organic farm, then they're using these, especially the genetically modified weeds. Now, the genetic modification, like I discussed before, isn't necessarily harmful in itself.
Right.
It's all the accompanying weed killer stuff that's really what's...
Yeah, because our friend Dan, he was kind of a big proponent for GMO stuff. There's a lot of...
Right.
Because anytime you artificially hybridize plants, that's technically could be considered a GMO,
That's really what it is.
Yeah, I mean...
But there's this one weed that this was actually specifically targeting. It's called pigweed.
Okay.
Do
tell, Doug.
Well, pigweed is all edible. It's supposed to be good for you. The young leaves can be eaten raw or cooked like spinach, sautéed, and it has a mild flavor, and is also mixed with stronger flavored leaves. And fresh or dried pigweed leaves can be used to make tea. The seed is very small but easy to harvest, and it's very nutritious. The flavor is greatly improved by roasting the seed before grinding it. The pigweed seed can be ground into powder and used as a cereal substitute. It can also be sprouted and now added to salad. The seed is very small but easy to harvest, and there's another name for it. It's called amaranth. And it's actually, there's a red amaranth that I saw online where they were cooking it, and it's pretty good. Now there's another plant which, if you've been down south, you've probably seen it alongside the road. It's called kudzu.
Kudzu, yeah, that's the one that's kind of infecting. It's very encroaches into everything, you know.
Right, and it grows fast.
Yep.
And you see grows of trees and even utility poles and barn houses covered with kudzu, the vine that ate the South. What few people know is that the plant is edible and delicious.
Really?
Yeah. It's originally brought from the U.S. from Japan and is to be used as a forage food for livestock. It helps to reduce soil erosion. The plant took a liking to the warm, humid southeastern climate and got out of control.
Okay.
And there's urban myths about how people return from vacation to find their homes and cars covered with kudzu.
Urban legend, huh?
Yeah.
Of course, if it's in the rural South, maybe it wouldn't be an urban legend, be a rural legend or something. I don't know. So you eat it, but you know, some of this makes me want to try some of this just to see how it works.
Yeah,
you know?
and the other problem is that kudzu looks very similar to poison ivy, so you got to make sure you know how to distinguish
you do
between
not
the
want to eat
plants.
some poison ivy. That would be bad. Get down your that would be bad.
The leaves, vine tips, and the flowers and the roots are edible. The vines are not. The leaves can be used like spinach and eaten raw, or chopped up and baked in quiches, cooked like collards or deep fried. Young kudzu shoots are tender and taste similar to snow peas. And it also produces beautiful purple-colored grape-smelling blossoms that make this delicious jelly, candy, and syrup.
We're still talking kudzu right now.
Kudzu, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And some people made homemade wine out of it.
Okay. Well, dandelion wine. Okay.
Potato-like roots are full of protein, iron, fiber, and other nutrients. They're dried and then ground to the powder, which is used to coat foods before drying.
Wow.
Or to thicken sauces.
So this you do. So, man, they should just harvest this stuff. You know, they don't have to do anything. It just grows.
Yeah, well, that's part of what the problem with weeds is that they just come up by themselves.
Yeah, you have to do anything.
And you actually have to go out in the woods to harvest it, or unless you actually make a point of actually growing it, making a field of kudzu. And I went into Whole Foods the other day, and I think a bottle of kudzu cost like $14.
How come so expensive?
I don't know.
I mean, it's a weed. You can get it anywhere.
Yeah, but that's what Whole Foods is. Anything that's in there.
Well, everything's premium there anyway. Yeah. Whole food stuff. Yeah, and organic stuff. Yeah.
Milk thistle.
Oh, you got another one.
Yeah, it's a herbal remedy derived from milk thistle plant. And the prickly plant with distinctive purple flowers and white veins.
Yeah, it grows in Michigan quite a bit.
Grows a lot, and it's a herbal remedy known as milk thistle extract. It has a
I've heard of that actually.
Of silmarin has been concentrated from milk thistle plant.
And what does it do, Doug? What's it good for?
It's an antioxidant, antiviral, and anti-inflammatory properties.
Okay.
And it's used to treat liver and gallbladder disorders, promote breast milk production, prevent and treat cancer, and even protect the liver from snake bites, alcohol, and other environmental poisons.
Because I think, Doug, I've seen milk thistle selling in a bottle at Rite Aid up the street here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's regularly used as a complementary therapy by people who have liver damage. Like alcoholic liver disease.
Okay.
They used to protect the liver against toxins like amatoxin.
Like what?
Which is a death cat mushroom. It's called amatoxin.
Okay.
And
I don't know what that means.
and so it helps the liver and a lot of different other things. Another one, of course, is burdock. Burdock root is really good for you. It has a lot of remedies. Use burdock root, and actually the Japanese actually grow burdock for.
Does it grow here in Michigan?
Yeah, burdock, of course, grows here in Michigan.
Does it? What does it look like? I don't know.
Well, a cocklebur, you get it in your socks.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh. Oh yeah, another nuisance. Now totally show me how it's actually good for you.
Yeah, it's good for you. Okay, and hear more about milk thistle. Well, I got 17 pages of milk thistle.
I was going through this before the show, and I go, wow, that's a lot of stuff. You've gone through 6 or 7 already.
All right, it may help prevent, this is milk thistle, age-related decline in brain function. It could protect your bones, it may improve cancer treatment, it may boost breast milk production, it could help treat acne. Milk thistle can lower blood sugar levels for people with diabetes. And then it says, is milk thistle safe? It's generally considered safe. It's taken in my mouth. And
I've seen that in the stores.
yeah,
It's kind of amazing.
Good stuff. So here's the bottom line: is.
And you haven't even touched all the way.
I just started looking up the ones that I was concerned
You got 7 or 8 of them
about.
right there. It's kind of
I
amazing.
said, what do I consider weeds? And these are a few of them. And then I looked up these guys, and I said, well, that's good for you too. So the bottom line is that it's all in your mind if it's a weed. God created everything for a purpose.
Yep.
And he has a function and a design for everything that he's made. Now, you may not like what it does in certain respects, and we do have the thorns and thistles, and
Sure.
I'm going to look up the jumping cholla cactus, see what that's good for.
Okay.
Because that's pretty,
That's pretty good. Well, then I guess we got to wrap it up. So, it's a good show.
We'll see you next time on Revolution Against Evolution.